Every day is a battle. Not with the outside world, but with the noise raging inside your head. The anger, the fear, the tension. These don't just distract you, they drain your strength. What if I told you that the greatest warriors found the solution centuries ago? As Miyamoto Musashi, the master of the perfect sword path, once said, "In battle, do not rely on feelings. Let pure awareness answer in their stead." This is the foundation of unwavering presence. This episode is not about meditation. This is a lesson in inner discipline. I will show you how to turn Musashi's warrior principle, the principle of the dual cut, into a weapon against emotional chaos. This duality is the energy of emotion and the focus of logic. It's the conscious choice between reaction and response. By the time you finish, you will see, what was the source of your anger or fear is actually your sharpest weapon. Welcome to the path of the warrior of the everyday. The principle of emptiness and inner stillness. The core principle is to stop reacting by creating a conscious space between the stimulus and the response. Let's return to the moment when emotions overwhelm you. This is the moment of impulsive reaction. Someone hurts you, something fails, and the internal fire instantly flares up. This is where most people lose the battle. They let the stimulus immediately trigger an uncontrolled action. Musashi said, "Be empty of reaction." Musashi called this ability the principle of emptiness. According to the Gorin no-sho, the Book of Five Rings, emptiness is not a state of emotional absence, but one of mental clarity. The master of the sword path does not think about 1,000 possible answers in battle. His consciousness is empty of disturbing noise. The answer is born from the moment. Your goal is this too: when the stimulus arrives, create a symbolic pause. This pause is your emptiness. Application in everyday life. Your goal is this too in everyday life: create a pause. When the stimulus, the offense, or the stress arrives, do not let it take control. Use a symbolic step back. This is not weakness, it is a tactical withdrawal to regain high ground. This momentary emptiness is the place where the emotion remains energy, but the control is already yours. The warrior's path calls this control the dual cut. The essence of emptiness, gaining time and strategic clarity. For emptiness to work, you must implement a micro-technique. The shortest path is the bridge between the body and the mind. The first is identification. Perceive the moment when the emotional energy starts, for example, the tightening feeling in your stomach, the sudden heat wave. Recognize it, this is it, the reflex is coming now. Do not judge the feeling, simply acknowledge its arrival. The second is the stopper code. Use a physical stop command. This can be a deep, slow exhale, or an intentional 1-second halt, letting go of the screen, relaxing your arms. This deliberate physical action shatters the emotional momentum. This physical movement gives the sword of logic the opportunity to step into the dual cut. This momentary emptiness is your greatest weapon. This space is where the emotion is only energy, but control can already be handed over to the sword of logic. If you do not give yourself this pause, the reflex wins. If you do, you take control. The weapon, the principle of the dual cut. The core principle is that the energy of emotion is not suppressed, but focused into action by steering it with the sword of logic. Emotion provides the force, logic provides the direction. The two swords metaphor. After you have learned to pause in emptiness, it is time to take up the warrior's weapons. Master Musashi was famous for wielding two swords simultaneously, the long sword and the short sword. This is the principle of the dual cut. On our inner battlefield, we also need two weapons: the sword of emotion and the sword of logic. Once you have created the pause in emptiness, it is time to act. This is the essence of Musashi's martial art, the principle of the dual cut. Remember, you have two weapons. Many people are mistaken when they believe that managing emotions means throwing away one of the swords. Throwing away the emotion is throwing away the fuel for the fight. This is not true. Your long sword is the energy of emotion. The anger, the frustration, the dissatisfaction inside you, these are your strongest engines. This is raw power. If you suppress it, it suffocates you. If you unleash it, it destroys. The key is control. The sword of logic, the focus. This is why you must possess the second weapon, the short sword, which is the sword of logic. This is discipline, pure intention. Logic is not a tool of denial, but of shaping. It is the precise blueprint for the energy of the long sword. The long sword provides the power, the short sword provides the target. The dual cut is created exactly at the moment when logic accepts the existence of emotion, but immediately focuses it on a constructive task. Application and combat. Transforming anger. Suppose your boss unfairly humiliates you. The sword of emotion would immediately steer you toward destructive anger, which would instantly lose the battle with a momentary reaction, shouting, quitting. This initial explosion is merely a waste of tactical resource. This is where the sword of logic steps in. Cut the impulse and focus the power of your rage on the solution. Ask yourself, what am I using this power for now? Perhaps to gather irrefutable evidence of your worth over the next month, to negotiate confidently, or to draw boundaries. You redirect the heat of the fire toward forging a new, stronger defense. Your anger's energy remains, but it works not against you, but for you. This is the dual cut. Transforming fear. There is the energy of fear before a big task, an exam, or a risky decision. The long sword of fear would bring paralysis. It whispers reasons for retreat and surrender. But the sword of logic intervenes here too. It does not kill the fear, but treats it with respect. Fear is the signal that something important is coming up. Logic says, use the fear for perfect planning. This energy drives you to thoroughly consider the risks and work out the B-plan. We turn the fear signal into rigorous preparation. Fear thus turns into meticulousness and precision. With this mastery in your hand, you will never again be a victim of your inner storm, only its master. The principle of distance, the Ma. The core principle is gaining time and space by placing it between the event and the internal reaction. The meaning of Ma in Japanese is the principle of space or pause. The significance of distance. With two swords in your hand, you are no longer defenseless. But a warrior's strength is not derived from being able to cut, but from knowing where to cut. This is the science of Ma, the principle of distance. It is the fundamental law of strategic advantage. In a physical battle, bad distance guarantees defeat. And on the emotional battlefield, bad distance is when you allow uncontrollable stimuli too close to you. Step back and ask the question, what truly belongs to your territory? The three circles of control. To establish this distance, you must separate the emotional environment into three clear circles. This is the map of your inner battleground. First, the inner circle, the controllable. This includes your own actions, your words, your thoughts, and your dual cut. This is your realm. When your rage borders on the limit, return here. Your discipline is the impenetrable shield of this first circle. Only here do you possess total power. The warrior never blames others for what happens within their inner circle. Second, the middle circle, the influenceable. This includes the reactions of other people, a colleague's opinion, or the outcome of a negotiation. You do not control these, but you can influence them through your disciplined actions originating from your inner circle. Invest your energy here wisely, like deploying reserves in a shifting engagement. You are able to affect them, but you dedicate only a fraction of your energy to them, as success is not guaranteed. And finally, the third, the outer circle, the acceptable, the widest circle. This includes the weather, past decisions, an economic crisis, or another person's fundamental personality. Most people lose their energy here. They try to control what is uncontrollable. Musashi teaches, accept the unchangeable, and do not waste a single emotional weapon on it. Chasing control in this area is a guaranteed path to exhaustion and defeat. The principle of Ma is therefore, identify which circle you are currently in. If you are in the outer circle, take a deep breath and do not act. If you are in the inner circle, cut. Possessing distance gives you the freedom to focus only where you can win. In practice, this means that when you come under emotional pressure, ask the question, will this thing matter tonight, or is it just momentary noise? With this mental creation of distance, You immediately separate the significant challenges from simple frustration. The noise of the outer circles is not your fight. Know where you stand, and know where to cut. Emotional stances, the stance of the 5 elements. The core principle is adopting the 5 symbolic stances with which you can consciously respond to different types of emotional challenges. Introduction to the stances. The principles so far have served for internal preparation. Now let's look at the execution. A warrior does not use the same weapon or stance in every situation. You must learn to switch between your emotional stances, depending on the challenge you face. Adaptability is the key to longevity in battle. The Gorin no-show describes 5 elements: earth, water, fire, wind, and void, or emptiness. We will now transfer the 3 most important ones into the emotional arena as fundamental stances. The first stance, earth, the discipline. The earth stance is the foundation of everything. This is the stance of unwavering discipline. You must adopt it when chaos rages around you, such as panic at work or unexpected bad news, and your first reaction would be superficial, quick decision-making. The purpose of this stance is total stillness under pressure. Earth is solid. Do not move. This stance means you stick to reliable foundations. Here, the disciplines of routine, sleep, eating, and movement are your emotional anchors. These mundane acts form the bedrock of your psychological defense. The earth stance is not about quick reaction, but about persistent endurance. If your internal foundations are in order, the external storm cannot knock you down. Be the rock that the waves break around. The second stance, water, the adaptability. The earth stance can also make you rigid. Therefore, you need the water stance, which is the stance of flexibility. You must use it when things do not turn out as planned, and failure or change arrives. It teaches you how to maintain momentum without breaking your fundamental structure. Water bypasses the obstacle. If you cannot go through it, go around it. The water stance means, do not waste energy on the what-if question. Achieve immediate acceptance of the failure, then move on to planning the next possible step. The true power of water lies in its ability to remain whole without fracturing. Water does not fight the shore, it finds a new way. Adapt, and stay in continuous motion. The third stance, fire, the action. Finally comes the fire stance. This is the stance of focused power. You must deploy it when the previous 2 are insufficient and a breakthrough is necessary. This is when you must utilize the energy of anger and passion, the long sword, with full intensity. This is uncompromising action. Fire burns a single target, the final obstacle. Use this stance when you need to draw boundaries, when you need to say no, or when you need to complete a difficult, long-delayed task. Do not let the fire run wild. Hold it to a single sharp point with the sword of logic. The logic acts as the nozzle, directing the heat precisely where it needs to strike. With this energy, you destroy the obstacle without burning yourself down. The inner battle never ends. Managing emotions is the path of continuous refinement. The moment you stop training, the rust begins to form. As Musashi also said, do not stray from the natural path, which is development. This lesson you mastered today is your weapon, but it is only worth something if you continuously wield it. Every reaction you have to an emotional stimulus is another training session on the samurai path. Do not make the mistake of treating emotional discipline as a feeling. Discipline is a series of actions, the routines of the earth stance, the release of the water stance, the focused energy of the fire stance. This continuous refinement is what distinguishes an amateur from a master. A true master is simply an amateur who refused to stop refining their technique. Remember the beginning. I promised you that what was previously the source of chaos could become your sharpest weapon. Now you know that your anger is not weakness if you focus it into action using the dual cut. Fear is not paralysis if you use the principle of distance for planning. You are the warrior. There is no more helpless paralysis. Only the strength of pure intention. Thank you for joining me today. If you are ready for the next adventure, subscribe, turn on the bell, and invite your brothers and sisters as well. The fire burns not only for you, but also for those who are still walking in the dark, and to whom your courage can bring the light.